All right, then. It's 11 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to the May AECT Organizational Training Performance Membership Meeting. I'm Tim Boylo, the current OTP Division President, and just have a few housekeeping points to cover. Of course, you see the agenda displayed on the screen. I'll take that away in a couple minutes as we get going, so that we'll be able to see and hear from the speakers, as well as share information from individuals' computers as appropriate. But this is the fourth of 6 scheduled member meetings to occur, and these are typically from January through June. And please note that we did not meet in the month of April. We may also schedule a meeting in the September or October timeframe if needed to aid in preparation for the National Convention, which of course is in November in Jacksonville, Florida this year. The meeting is always at 12 p.m. Eastern Time and the third Friday of the month. The meetings will be via Zoom using the same ID that you used to connect today, and all of our membership meetings are recorded and shared on the Facebook group page for AECT-OTP. These meetings are open to all members. However, division board members are expected to attend. And to assist in tracking meeting attendance, just so we have a good count, please at some point go into the chat for Zoom and type in your name so that we have a record. And then lastly, to improve the audio quality of the meeting recording, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking, and that will cut down on ambient noise and echo effect. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dismiss the agenda, and we'll go ahead and get started. The first item is OTP board membership updates. I don't have any updates to the board. There have been no changes, and I would refer you to the AECT.org website for a list of the current OTP division board members for the 2016-2017 term. With that, I want to move over to Sharon to provide us a divisional update as our board representative to the AECT Executive Board. So Sharon, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tim. Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse my turning off the video, but my hair is in curlers getting ready for commencement tomorrow, and I don't want to frighten any members. We had our Board of Directors meeting on Wednesday, the 17th, and I do have a couple of items for the division to note, more heads up than action items. In my last report, I pointed out the communications effort that is underway, trying to make it clear to the world at large what our profession is about. As part of that, Gary Morrison, who you may recognize that name as the lead author of the book Designing Effective Instruction, has been working with Mike Melenda and a couple of other folks to draft an instructional design white paper. The white paper will be in the name of AECT rather than those individuals, and is intended to reach a much broader audience and explaining what we are as professionals and what it is that we do. The draft will be ready for first review by July, and those who are going to the leadership meeting will see the draft then. Once it's tidied up and reviewed, it will be sent out to membership for commentary, following the same process that has been followed in the past for the policy briefs and things that we've done. Also, in that vein, once it's finalized, Chuck Hodges, who's the editor of Tech Trends, will be publishing the final version of it as a special invited article in a future issue of Tech Trends. So be on the lookout for that. The second item to be on the lookout for is AECT as an organization is going to be addressing the internet privacy issue, since that has broad implications for teaching and learning as well as for tracking student data. Phil Harris and Bob Doyle, who's from the AECT Foundation, for those of you who don't know them, are working on a draft position statement. A position statement very similar to the kinds of position statements that you see from organizations like EERA on legislation or directions. The idea in this case, of course, is not to wait until there's legislation about internet privacy, but to to state our position in advance. That draft won't be ready until sometime before the fall conference. And the expectation is that it will go out for membership review not too long after the fall conference. So that's another thing to be on the lookout for. For both of those, they emphasize they want to, from the membership, they want as broad a representation of members commenting as possible. So if you are a practitioner, please, please, please comment on both the instructional design white paper and the internet privacy issue when it comes out for commentary. The third thing to be aware of, AECT has received a request from one of our members, Tutalina Asino. For those who don't know him, he's at Oklahoma State. He would like AECT to endorse an open access instructional design textbook that he plans to edit and put together a review board. For those who may not be aware about the open access movement, it's not really a single movement. It's got everything ranging from people who hate commercial publishing and believe the world should be free to those who just basically want to make textbook costs more reachable, if you will, for students. Rick West, who is an AECT member as well, has also been working on an open access textbook, but on his own, so not endorsed by AECT. The difference is that Tutalini wants AEC to endorse it. This particular request generated quite a bit of discussion at the board of directors meeting, as you can imagine. And the lines were clearly drawn between those who are anti-commercial publishers versus those who deem open access text to be in conflict with the professionalism of instructional design scholarship and practice. Nevertheless, we did agree that in order to make an informed judgment, we needed to have something in writing. Tutalino only sent his request verbally, so we have asked him to submit a written proposal describing exactly what it is that he wants to do, what he had in mind, and so forth. There was no set date for when that proposal is due, but do be aware there may be some churn both in the summer and at the annual meeting about open access. Those of you who know David Wiley has been very active in trying to get open access really strong in our field. But the irony of this was this whole discussion came up right after we got our revenue report from Springer about how much money we make on publication. So that was kind of amusing. In any event, that will be coming up for our discussion. The last thing is that Jay Harriman, who's the chair of the AECT Awards Committee, and Phil Harris are urgently requesting all of the divisions to solicit and review their awards nominations as quickly as possible so that the award plaques, checks, or whatever instruments we're using can be obtained well in advance of the annual conference. It appears that some divisions submitted the names well after the published due date, and some of the committees had to run around and scramble trying to get everything ready. We are officially on notice. They are not going to scramble this year. You don't submit the names on time, no plaque, no check, no nothing. So please, please submit that by the published due date. That's my report. Any questions?
I guess I should unmute. Great stuff always, Sharon.
Okay.
It's interesting. I drank the Kool-Aid for OER a few years ago, and Dave Wiley has been instrumental, as you point out, in promoting this. You know, it's for those of us who are in academe, you know, particularly in tenure track positions, OER or open access is tantamount to heresy in terms of research and scholarship, or at least traditionally. I think that trend is turning now with some of the credibility received by open access journals. I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and to your point, AECT, whereas it is in our interest to maintain proprietary journals and our publications through our relationships with Springer and so forth, but I think that we also are in a unique position to provide leadership for this initiative. So very excited to hear your updates and looking forward to more information on that, certainly through the fall convention. I'm sure there will be further conversations.
Oh, there definitely will. Anyone else have questions or comments they'd like to add? Then I'm done.
All right, Sharon. Well, thank you so much for your update. I'm going to move now into the divisional committee updates. As most of you are aware, Nancy Hastings, as our past president, chairs the Strategic Planning Committee and provides an agenda for ad hoc committees work through the year. And this is updated and revised every year during summer leadership. Nancy is not available to be with us today. She had a conflicting engagement that she needed to take care of, but she did pass along her greetings and well wishes, as well as some updates that I am in a position to be able to share with you. We do have several ad hoc committees that have been working very hard. And the first update that I'd like to provide pertains to the Digital Badging Micro-Credential Committee. This committee is chaired, or actually co-chaired, by myself and Dirk Eifenthaler. And we have a committee membership including Brandy Lemming, Lisa Giacomo, Steve Valachica, and Kate Leonard have all been actively engaged. We've had a few different meetings. And just to give you a quick summary of some of the work that's being done and where the thought process of this committee has been, Dirk Eifenthaler, who is, as I mentioned, the co-chair of the committee, did present an excellent primer for thinking about digital badges and micro-credentials in his webinar for the division on March 27th. If you were not available or able to attend his webinar, you can find copies of his slides on the divisional Facebook group page, as well as a recording for his complete webinar on the AECT-OTP YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with the YouTube channel, just go into YouTube and type in AECT-OTP, and you'll find a number of recordings, including links or actual posting of the videos for our membership meetings, as well as the webinars. So I do hope that you'll take the time to take a look at that. It's very good information. I also can share with you that the committee met on April 4th, and we were also joined by Rick West, as Sharon mentioned, in some of the work that he's doing with OER. Rick is at Brigham Young University and has also been very actively involved in the digital badges and micro-credentials, credentialing in higher ed for a number of years now. And in fact, he was instrumental in a proposal that was accepted by AECT for an open badges endorsement program. So you'll find information on that as well if you go out and look up Rick, BYU, as well as additional information related to that. You know, I can tell you that there has been recognition by this committee, and we've got some pretty sharp minds that are looking at this, and we all come at it from slightly different perspectives and different levels of interest. But what we have found is a recognition that digital badges and micro-credentials, while certainly disruptive innovation, is also a very complex topic, as you might imagine, with many moving parts, goals, and agencies that are involved in these processes. Add to that the fact that badging platforms are still evolving to address a range of issues, including validity, authenticity, granularity, interoperability, flexibility, and transferability of badges. I think it's still going to take us a while to fully sort this out. This committee has opted to continue to work asynchronously through the summer, and we expect to be able to provide a full report and set of recommendations to the OTP Division Board and membership by certainly the fall convention. And as always, if you have interest in the work of this committee or anything else that's being done, carried out within the division, please reach out to any of the committee members, either directly or via the AECT-OTP Facebook group page. This is a great source. It's a great community of learning and inquiry, and I encourage you to subscribe to the OTP group page on Facebook, and that's a great way to stay in touch with people. Moving on now to our second strategic committee, which is the YouTube OTP Best Practices Channel Committee. This committee is co-chaired by Susan Jendon and Ashley MacArthur. And in addition, we have membership by Lisa, again, is on this committee, as well as myself and Landon Meekum from Boise State University. There is now an OTP brand channel on YouTube, which I mentioned a few moments ago, and you can find that just by simply logging into YouTube and searching for AECT-OTP. I can tell you that since the last meeting, this committee has drafted a set of community guidelines for the channel, including video selection criteria. A survey was conducted by the OTP, with input from the OTP Executive Committee, to try to further determine the purpose and goals for this channel, as well as the value proposition for this type of resource for our division members. And with that, I want to turn it over in terms of discussion to hear from our committee co-chairs, Susan and Ashley, to provide a more detailed update as well as next steps. So Susan, I trust that you're ready and have some things to share with us.
The trick will be how I share my screen right here. And I'm going to quickly take you through.
We see it? Great.
Some of the information that we got. And so here's the report that we came up with. And I'm just going to go through here rather quickly, I hope. And as Tim said, we're gathering information to better understand the direction in creating and maintaining the YouTube channel, objectives, process, procedures, standards. So this is what the survey said. And you can see briefly the responses. Well, we didn't get a lot of responses. Whoops, let me go back here. Okay. There were 7 answers. 7 people answered this. There were emails sent out, invitations to participate to 13 people. We got 7 participants. And while we did not have a lot of participants, we can see that we got a range of responses across the board: student, practitioner, instructor. So there's value in those different perspectives. Question 2 was, what types of content would you like to see? And we started out with these main categories: presentations, demonstrations, professional development, best practices. And we did see that there was support for all of these different kinds of content. And we were able to add to that as we went along, as you'll see going forward. Question 3 gave more opportunity to respond on what topics you would like to learn about. And we moved them into those main categories, but we nevertheless still came up with some others. And you can see here, can everybody see that?
Yes.
A quick look at some of the things that came up, different input, and I haven't listed it by how many people said what. Suffice to say that these are the areas that were mentioned, and the items in blue, the interviews with professionals and links to communities of practice, came from an open-ended question at the end. So we still see that we've got best practices and approaches. We've got current and emerging trends, professional development, definitely diversity, software uses, and there was a focus on the LMS. So I'm not going to say too much more about this. I think with diversity, we're talking both about as a topic and as part of our process, and how we and what we expect of the videos that we post, the standards that have to be met. Yeah, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. Question 4 was what suggestions you have for look, feel, format, or length of the videos. And we really came, even in our committee meeting, we thought between 1 and 7 minutes long. And basically most people agreed with that. There were there was some suggestion that it could be longer, and that was later on in the survey. And so we have to see if there's an opportunity for that, but there could be. So these are just guidelines at this point. Formats, examples, links to resources and materials, Then there's some longer answers here, and take a moment to take a look at that. So there's some real constructive suggestions here about what could be done, and the issue of co-branding that I think has to be investigated about what is necessary. But there certainly is a brand on the site. The OTP logo is there, so there is that. So I don't think there'll be any question about that. So question 5 was, what sources or organizations do you currently turn to for video content? And just about everybody uses YouTube, so that's where we're at. So it seems like it's a good model. And we can see where other content is posted and maybe integrate that in our considerations. This was open-ended. These are verbatim statements. And you can see that in terms of format and content, we've already really integrated some of this in the previous findings. And we do want to note that we have to have the standard review process, which we are in the process of developing. And Ashley, is Ashley here?
I think she may have phoned in. I don't see her currently in the participant list.
Okay. Ashley has, at the same time, just these last several days, really been working pretty hard on coming up with a rubric and our standard review process. So that's something that's still in process at this time. But the committee is working on it, and we strongly encourage input from everybody on what that might be, but more on that in a minute. So basically, here we are. The sample was small, but input included all user roles. All 4 categories of video content would be acceptable, but other content categories appeared, and you can see those would be the 3 in the table on the right, with the emerging trends, the software applications, diversity, accessibility, little typo there. These topics would also fall, there's a lot of overlap. So something could be a best practice and also be part of professional development, could be a demonstration. So there's no necessarily need to separate. We could add those considerations into a rubric, like maybe even a stronger chance of being posted if it met a number of categories, or we could just find value in meeting one category. So we're working on that now. So I think what we as a committee discussed was, in terms of timeline, we want to do a good job, and we're working on it as fast as we can. The additional survey, do we need more input? And Larry had made some suggestions to Tim about another way to do that. There are other ways. There's Facebook. There's just sort of talking to people you know who might be appropriate in the audience that we want. But I think at this point, the consensus I got from the meeting was that we were going to continue to move on and see if we could still gather other input at the same time, not shut it out, certainly, but we want to be listening to what people have to say, but continue to develop the plan and the rubric. Tim, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think this is great, Susan. And as I mentioned, the divisional YouTube channel is up. It's established. It's live. It's real. It exists today. Admittedly, there's not a tremendous amount of content on it. We decided to move forward with implementing the channel because we don't want to overanalyze this. Certainly, we want to make sure that this provides value for our members, that we are providing a service that is either not available through other sources or is unique to the needs of the OTP membership. And I just, we will continue to collect input and suggestions and recommendations from the membership to make this better. We will be, what we hope will happen is that we will be so overwhelmed with videos that all of our attention will turn to curation and organization to make it easier for people to find information. But it is there. This was something that came out of our strategic planning for the division with support from the executive committee and the full membership. So I encourage you to get involved in this process, to think about it, and think about what this means to you in terms of your practice, in terms of your professional growth and development, and how you can benefit from access to this type of resource, as well as think of it as an opportunity to sort of pay it forward by giving something back to the division to help others.
So I guess what I would like to say is, and I agree 100%, I think that more of an agile approach moving forward. We will get feedback, take that feedback, consider it, see how we can improve, and find our way based on comments, any other input. But moving ahead, and as I said at our committee meeting, I think that the future really is video. I think that there is a huge potential in putting something together, looking ahead, having a little bit of vision and seeing that this could be a real opportunity. So I hope people get excited about it. I hope people are interested. Any input is welcome. And I think that's really, we're just working on now coming up with the rubric. And I know that Ashley has been, just in the last 2 days, has been working on that. And I've been working with her a bit. But we'll develop that. We'll have more at the next committee meeting and be able to present more as well. So are there any questions? Any questions on that I can answer? Any preferences or concerns or suggestions?
Well, thank you so much, Susan. We will be in contact.
Very good. Thank you.
And let's keep these videos going. You know, we all have opportunities, professional development opportunities. You know, think of this for those of you who are students, and I see a couple of you in this call who are also practitioners. Think about the materials that you're producing, even for your own pursuit of your academic goals. How could that information be shared? It's work that you're doing. How can you use this to benefit others, as well as add additional credibility to your own Vita and digital portfolios would be another consideration. But I appreciate all the work, Susan, and we will continue to look forward to updates and advances as this initiative rolls forward.
Thank you. Very good.
All right. So the next committee update that I want to provide is for the divisional scholarship. We have developed and finalized the rules and criteria for this year's scholarship. And these are scholarships for students and to help cover the cost of attending the national convention. The application is scheduled to open on June 1st, so just a couple weeks from now. And we are looking for submissions to be in-house by June 30th. This will enable us to make decisions by July 20th and announce this year's scholarship recipients at the summer leadership meeting in Jacksonville on July 24th and 25th. So if this keep your eyes open, you will be getting information in communication via email through the OTP division listserv, as well as the group page for our scholarship plan. Next, I want to move toward an update on convention planning. The 2017 convention is in full swing in terms of finalizing planning. You are seeing updates via Facebook, updates via email, and lots of exciting and great things that are happening. I wanted to give you an update on where we ended up at as a division. OTP has been allotted 10 hours of conference programming time, which is significant in that this is higher than what we've had for past conferences. And I think certainly is due to recognition of the diversity represented in the organizational training and performance division. The way that the programming will break down this year is as follows. We have 4 panel sessions that have been scheduled, 12 concurrent sessions, 10 roundtables, as well as 4 poster sessions. And these will all be listed in the conference program as these documents are finalized and move forward. I do want to take a moment, though, to send a special thanks to all members who submitted proposals, as well as congratulations to all those who will be presenting at the fall convention. And I look forward to seeing all of you in Jacksonville in November. In terms of webinars, we've had a pretty good series this year. And as a reminder, our final scheduled webinar has been scheduled. So please mark your calendars. This will be on June 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And it will be presented by Lisa Giacomo, along with several of her students. And the topic of our next webinar will be rapid e-learning to support workforce learning. I also want to take pause to provide a special thanks to all of our previous presenters, specifically Dirk and Ashley, as well as Lisa, for their support of the division and the valuable contributions that they've made to this webinar series. Specific webinar login information for June 7th webinar will be forthcoming, and this will be distributed again through the AECT listserv and as well as the Facebook OTP group page. And in addition, as mentioned, you will find recordings for all of the OTP webinars from this series by going to the AECT-OTP YouTube channel. And we're not done yet. Please let me know if you are interested or know someone who may be interested in presenting a webinar for the division this year. And it's not too early to begin thinking about planning for the 2018 webinar series. Well, that brings me to the conclusion of the business covered in the agenda for this meeting. I do want to take a pause to open it up for general discussion. If you have anything on your mind, for those of you who are here, anything you want to share or ask additional questions that we haven't covered.
One quick question.
Yes.
How do our membership numbers for the division itself look? Have they been growing? Is there an upward trend, stable? How is that doing?
You know, Sharon, a great question. I don't have specific data. I can tell you, though, in terms of the general trend, because we do look at this, obviously, in terms of proposal submissions for conference, as well as managing our email lists and Facebook membership. It seems to be pretty consistent. You know, we see different, it varies throughout the year. We'll see upticks in terms of people coming in. We don't necessarily see people leaving, but it's just, we're really interested in growth and being able to attract new members. I'm not sure if I've even addressed your question.
Well, actually you have, because for those who may not know it, Brent Slinkert, who's our marketing liaison for AECT, has been involved in trying to win back AECT memberships that have lapsed, people who have been dormant. And I was wondering whether or not that has started to spill over to the division level or just to membership in the organization at large. That was why I was asking. Okay. I think that's something we want to watch, as long as, because his campaign is an ongoing one. It's not a one-off. So as he brings more people back to AECT, it would be nice to know if we've recovered some of our old members who may have left the division years ago.
That's a great point, and thanks for that reminder of the good work that Brent has been involved in. I can tell you, Sharon, interestingly, the work of the committees that we've just heard from has attracted a few new members. We've actually had a couple people that have joined AECT for the first time, directly as a result of some of the work that we're putting out there. So clearly, the social media presence is also helping, at least to raise awareness or to keep the relevancy of the organization in forefront in people's minds. So I think that all of these factors do contribute, and certainly the more focused and the more conscious that we are in trying to promote membership and growth of the organization, the better it is for all.
I have 2 points. The first is, I'm curious about what is the composition of the participants in terms of academia, students, and the workforce. Do we have any idea of that?
My response to that, Susan, and I'll invite Sharon to join in. I think you're going to see a lot of variability as you look across the 11 different. I think we're still 11 divisions, or maybe more, but that's it. That number seems to stick in mind. I think you captured it pretty well in your slide in terms of the response that you got in your survey. Where we have kind of equal represent. There are three main segments. We have academicians, we have students through our GSA organization, and we have practitioners. And I think that, and to me, I suspect that you would probably see that composition vary according to the different divisions, but I don't have hard data to support that. Would you have anything to add to that, Sharon?
Yeah, I don't have the hard numbers in front of me. I know that Eugene keeps a good record of that. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing, however, is that how we in OTP define practitioner is very different from some of the other divisions. For example, mm-hmm. K-12 teachers think of themselves as practitioners, whereas we would not. So that how to slice, and that's all part of Gary Morrison and company's effort to really clarify what this profession really means. Because a K-12 teacher to me is not an instructional design practitioner. I'm sorry, but they think of themselves as practitioners. So depending on the theme of the division, whoever is interested in that theme joins that division. So you find people who are in the systems, I forget what the full title of that division is, who are academicians, right, who are in the workforce, primarily government people. In our group, you have a combination of academicians and people in industry, whereas in DDL and D&D, it's almost 100% academicians. So it really depends on what the theme and the focus of the division is that determines what the profile is.
Mm-hmm. It does sound, though, that we're more weighted towards academia based on the groups, would you say?
Well, you're absolutely right, because industry and government practitioners tend to join ATD, which is the Association mm-hmm. for Talent Development. But the Association for Talent Development focuses on best practices in the workplace. It is right. not research driven. They don't care about research. They don't care about theory. They only want to know what's the way to get the job done for the client today. So it's organizations sharing their lessons learned as opposed to the pedagogies and andragogies and the affordances of technology and so forth, where AECT is focused. So what you often find is that students join AECT, faculty join AECT, when the student graduates. If that student then goes into government or industry, then they join ATD. They may still hang on to their AECT membership, but their focus is on ATD because they're looking for ways to advance in industry. So I think that's why AECT's profile has been and continues to be largely academic. And also keep in mind that the history of this profession is such that learning how to become an instructional designer in a formal way is traditionally through a college of education. And somebody going into business is coming with a business degree or something else other than an education degree. So those are all the factors that contribute to that, and also contributes to the challenge that we have in explaining what an instructional designer is and what they do. Mm-hmm.
That's a great explanation. Thanks. I do appreciate it. I think you're correct from what I've seen, and I am in the business world, and a lot of people do belong to ATD. AECT people don't know a whole lot about. Mm-hmm. I am somebody who's interested in research, so I feel very comfortable with it, but I am very aware that most of the people that I'm speaking with are coming from the academic world, where I'm not rooted in that right now. So it's very interesting.
Excellent. But I appreciate your questions and your perspective on that, Susan. And thank you as well, Sharon. Any other items or for discussion today, or any questions, things on people's minds as we get ready for Memorial Day weekend? Well, with that, I would like I will begin to bring this meeting to a close, just with a couple of quick updates and announcements. Our next meeting for the membership is scheduled for 12 p.m. Eastern time, same place. However, this will be on June 23rd. Note that it would have been June 16th, keeping with our process for the third Friday of the month. However, I'm going to be traveling that day. I'm going to be attending the New Media Consortium Summer Conference in Boston, and will actually be returning back to Pensacola on June 16th. So I hope that that doesn't inconvenience anyone, but our June meeting will be a week later on the 23rd.
Thank you for that, Tim, because on June 16th, I am going to be at a health spa in Arizona enjoying myself and wasn't planning to come to the meeting on the 16th, but I will be here for the 23rd.
And you know what? You so deserve it, Sharon. We all need a little pampering in our life.
Absolutely.
And with that, our next meeting, obviously, we'll use the same link that you used to connect to this meeting. And remember, I stress this over and over again. These are membership meetings. If you have topics for the next meeting or anything on your mind, please send me your thoughts or ideas, and feel free to avail yourself of the community of practice in the Facebook group page. If there is nothing else, I thank you all for your participation today, and we will consider this meeting adjourned and look forward to seeing you in the June membership meeting, and certainly face-to-face in Jacksonville this November. Take care and have a wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.